everybody. I am trying again to set up the overview of the summary and response, your first essay. So we will see how this goes, if I can get this to upload. I did one from home and it didn't work. You guys have had some questions about when to, people are standing outside my window and making faces at me. My office window, not like a window, and I know who they are, so anyway. So a summary and response. You guys have had a lot of questions about when to read what. So I put all of the essay choices on the schedule for this and next week. And people have been a little bit confused, I read this week, and then, how am I supposed to figure out? So if you end up flipping the schedule, that's fine. So if you want to go ahead and choose, say you're really interested in How Movies Teach Manhood, which is a TED Talk that you guys are going to watch next week. Technically, you're supposed to watch next week. Go ahead and replace one of the readings from this week with that one, if that sounds like something you're interested in, and you can read whatever you replace it with. Taking My Parents to College or The Danger of a Single Story. You can read those next week. All of that to say, there's no order that you necessarily have to read these in. I would say kind of try to preview them, and by preview them I mean access the text, kind of skim it, see what it's about, look at the titles, what you can get from the titles. All of those kinds of things can help you figure out if something's going to be interesting to you. I know some of you are having a lot of problems with the Taking My Parents to College. I have uploaded that, so I'm going to go, this is our homepage. Right here in the news feed is our Unit 1 schedule. And I have uploaded a PDF that I made of this. So now you guys should all be able to access it if you weren't before. So that should be taken care of. So I hope that kind of clears up. If you find that the readings this week if you kind of look at them and they don't seem to be like what you'd want to write about, look at next week's and start with that. You can always flip the readings between next week and this week. So I would say this is definitely not the most exciting essay to do. Our second essay, our narrative profile, is my favorite. And I haven't assigned this in a while, but I have kind of come back to it for a specific reason, and that is I see so many students coming into the Learning Center who are having to summarize, whether that's in a business class, a history class, the allied health classes, pre-allied, and once you get into your, if you're in rad tech or you're going into nursing, those programs require a lot of summary. And summary can be pretty hard. So if you summarize something, you're taking, let's say you're summarizing an article, like the ones you're reading for this, an article or an essay. You're reading the entire essay, and then you're basically stepping back from the essay and saying, this is the main point of the essay. This is the general kind of argument or focus of this is the writer's message. And you're doing that in a much smaller space. So you're taking something big, this essay, and you're scrunching it down to something smaller. You're really kind of boiling down whatever it is the writer is doing there. So this is something that is difficult for a lot of writers, and it's also something that's very important to learn how to do. It's something you're going to be doing your entire college career, and probably for most of you into your careers beyond Roane State. So I thought this would be a good chance to practice. And then the response portion of this is where you get to kind of bring yourself in here, and you can kind of say, these were the things that I connected with. I know a lot of people are going to have questions about using first person. You can absolutely use first person. Some instructors don't like that. I'm totally fine with it. You can say I, me, my. You're talking about your response to this. So that's going to be kind of important to be able to include that. So just to kind of give you an overview of this. So in that first paragraph, I'm kind of describing why summarizing texts are important. And this comes from a book, Research Matters, that I really like. And Howard and Taggart explain that summarizing text is important because it pushes us to understand the specifics of what we are reading and helps us to present the main ideas in a piece in a condensed form. A great way to reinforce and process a text. So on the one hand, this is a great study skill for you guys. So you're taking A&P, you read a really dense chapter in your A&P book. Being able to sit down away from your textbook and say, this is what I took from this chapter. Let me summarize what this chapter was about. That's really important. And then Gerald Graff and Kathy Birkenstein and They Say I Say, this is another book that we're going to be using a lot this semester. I'm going to be providing you guys with a lot of tools from. Say, as a general rule, a good summary requires balancing what the original author is saying with the writer's, your own focus. Generally speaking, a summary must at once be true to what the original author says, while at the same time emphasizing those aspects of what the author says that interest you, the writer. Striking this delicate balance can be tricky since it means facing two ways at once, both outward toward the author being summarized and inward toward yourself. Okay, so let me summarize that for you guys. Basically what they're saying here is you need to be doing two things here. First, you need to be representing accurately what the author in the essay is saying, right? But at the same time, all of you, let's say all of you responded to The Danger of a Single Story. No two summaries would be alike. One, because you're all individuals, but also because your response to it is going to be different based on your perspective and your experience. So when you do a summary, you focus on what are the most important aspects of that essay. What you see as the most important aspect of the essay may differ a little from what someone else does. So there's not a right or a wrong way to write a summary. There are many ways you can do it. A lot of it depends on how you are responding to that summary. I hope that makes sense. So your essay will have two components, and this is the essay that's not due until September 14th. We have a draft due on September 7th for peer review. Your final draft is not due until September 14th. So you'll have an introduction and summary of the essay. That should be around a third of your total essay. And then a response that shows clearly, logically, and specifically your ideas about the content discussed in the essay. And I say, there's some things you can take note of, like what's effective or ineffective about the argument, what you personally connect with in the piece, what underlying messages or meanings you find in the essay, how the content or argument connects to this broader conversation that maybe is going on right now in the world. The only source you guys are going to need for this is going to be just the essay or the TED Talk that you're responding to. I'll be honest, so audience and purpose, you're writing this for your writing community. We'll have more complex, imagined audiences as we move forward, but this is going to quite literally be sharing with your classmates and me, people who have read all of these essays and watched these TED Talks, sharing with us your personal response to one of these. So you can assume that your reader has some familiarity with it, but may need a general kind of prompt, reminder, outline of the main points. And then your purpose is to practice summary and critically engage with that text. So in terms of format, guys, I honestly could not give two flips whether you have the little header at the top with your name and my name and the class and the date. I don't really care about font size or margins or double spacing. My personal preference is to write in 11 point calibri, single spaced, half an inch margin. But there are kind of standards in academia that we're going to practice. I'm not going to be counting off for the formatting things. But the traditional, what you're going to be expected to do in the future is double spaced, 12 point size font, Times New Roman, with a little heading at the top. And so we'll practice that, but just know that it's not going to be something that you need to stress about a lot in our class, because I don't really care. I'm not going to be taking points off or anything like that. So some tips: read ahead, or at least skim ahead so that you can choose the essay or video that really interests you. Read these essays critically by questioning and ensuring you understand the author's argument. And I do have a resource posted to Momentum to help you with that. Avoid generalizations and cliches. Generalizations, that's going to be the sweeping statements about everyone, everybody, all people, or all women, or no men, or, try not to make assumptions about an entire group of people. And then cliches are going to be kind of falling back into the, I'm so bad at coming up with examples off the top of my head, but writing in kind of surface level phrases and languages that don't really kind of go deep. And I can post a resource about cliches. Quote, paraphrase, and summarize the author's positions accurately. I have the reference guide. I have that old reference there. I will post information for you guys for MLA guidelines, and then quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing accurately. And then I have the criteria down here, and you guys will see content is always going to be the biggest thing that I'm looking at. Organization, also important, 25%. So a thesis statement telling us, kind of giving us an overview of what your focus is in the summary and response. And then documentation, style, and mechanics. Here, this is a very small part of it. Is the writing appropriate for the intended audience? Are you thinking about, how do I want to talk about this to my classmates and my teacher? And by appropriate, I mean, are you taking into account what they know versus what they don't know, and making sure you're providing enough information, but not too much information in terms of the text. Cites information, I'm going to provide you guys with the citations for these, so you can just copy and paste them. And then critically edit and proofread. When I grade, guys, grammar is not my big focus. I know a lot of teachers that grammar, MLA, formatting, things like that, that's their primary purpose when they grade, and I guess that's fine. But that's not how I grade. So if I see patterns of error in your writing, I will point those out to you. I will give you resources. I'll work with you on it. But when I read your writing, for the most part, I'm reading it like a reader. So I'm going to be like, ooh, this is interesting. I'd love to see more of this here. Could you develop this point a little bit more? I love what you're saying here, but I feel like we could tighten up these paragraphs or maybe move some information around. Those are the kinds of comments that you're going to be getting from me. Things that can kind of help you stretch your writing a little bit, to make it tighter, or to make it more developed, or to make it more clear. That's kind of my focus. So this should not be don't let this be an intimidating piece of writing. I'm happy to look at drafts as you guys do them. I also wanted to just kind of mention this. This is something I came up with a couple of years ago, just kind of a step-by-step about how to create a summary, because I think it's very hard to create a summary. And so I've given you kind of a step-by-step that you can do, and then some ideas for responses. Some general ways, some specific ideas like looking at themes, and then some things here for you to put your own ideas of how you might want to respond to this text. So that is that. I will be available for any kind of questions that come up. Remember, this is not due, the final draft, until September 14th. And then September 7th, that's a Tuesday. So we still have almost 2 weeks. That is going to be when you guys turn in your draft for the peer review. So, any questions? Email me, text me, call me. I'm happy to help you guys out in any way that I can. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I will talk to everybody soon.